Hello there, lovelies. It is great to be with you today, our second last session in a series of 12 sessions. We're going to have a celebration session next week, but do me a favor, as always, let me know if you can hear me and see me in the chat area. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a how ya. Give me a what? Give me a how ya. It's just how are you? Oh, Squelga. Really, it's just Irish Dublinese. How's it going? Or just give me a nod of the head, which you'd be doing well. All right, let me say hello to some on-timers. And as more and more are popping in through, Joey, hey, Harold, Peter, Sarah, Jane, John, and a few more coming in right behind them. So it is wonderful to be here with you today. You don't have any notes in your file section. However, I will add those to your members area. And so if you're watching the replay, they may actually be there right now. So pay no heed to what I'm actually speaking in this very moment. But if you're here live and in person, then just know notes will be coming, but I'm going to give you 10 thoughts today. Kind of briefly, we'll barrow through them. Well, maybe 9, maybe 10. We'll see if a little bit of inspiration comes. I just like round numbers. So what I'm going to talk to you about today, actually, gang, is don't miss the point. Okay, have you ever been challenged by a coach or a teacher or a professor or to not miss the point? That's how you, Harold. That is exactly how it's written. That is what we want to talk about today, because sometimes you can become so focused on the task at hand or on the project that you're in that you can forget to keep the main thing. And that's where we are, that's where we're heading, right? And I want you to remember the point. You are going to be helping your clients remember the point, the main thing, right? And so you may have all sorts of dreams and aspirations and goals, etc., for your coaching business or your coaching ministry. And what I want to make sure that you build in there is how you're going to live or how you want to live, right? Most people spend all their time and attention and their entire lives around what they want work to look like and what they want to achieve in the workplace, et cetera, and life is not work. Work is part of life, right? And was actually here before everything kind of went haywire in the beginning. Most people try to make the best of what's left after they've made their work goals and financial goals, etc. And I really want to encourage you to flip it. I want you to decide first and foremost, how is it that you want to live? How is it that you're being called to live? And how is it that you can actually do your best work? How do you want to do life, right? And love and leadership in that order. We are here to live, and you have a big brother, and his name begins with J, in case you didn't know that, who came actually to give you life in abundance. All right, which means fully, richly, right? Overflowing. How or what would life look like to be rich and full and abundant for you in the context of where you are right now or where you want to move in that direction? We're here to experience life and the fullness of life. And so as you take and as you embark on this entrepreneurial, whether it be business or ministry ride, if you like, it's going to help support the way that you want to live your life. But don't lose yourself in your ambition or in your goals. There was a line, or is a line, in a movie that I heard one time, and it said this: dissatisfaction is a symptom of ambition. Dissatisfaction is a symptom of ambition. You know, if you have any fire or get up and go in your life at all, then you're going to find yourself dissatisfied. And sometimes you might want to ask yourself, what is wrong with me? Well, part of the answer to that is that sometimes we put too much stock in the outcome of the task or at hand. And we're looking to milk too much from this project, this assignment, this goal being reached, etc. And when we get there, it's like the elusive butterfly. Right when we've arrived, it kind of flies away. And what we had hoped it would be when we got there isn't actually what life is all about, actually, in the first place. What I want to say to you, though, is that there's a part of dissatisfaction that is connected to ambition, and that leaders generally can celebrate. And I believe we do not celebrate enough. Okay? So I really want to encourage you to be a celebrator of your own life and accomplishments in your own life, but also other people's lives as well. As you celebrate and acknowledge what you're accomplishing, at the same time, there will be a desire for what is next. It's the way of growth. It's the way of leadership. It's the way of learning, right? There will always be something else to achieve, or always be something else to learn. There will always be another level to aspire to or to grow into. And that is not saying that actually that it has anything to do with who you are, because who you are is not about what you do. What you do is about what you feel called to and how you impact the world that's around you and get fulfillment from, but that isn't who you are. Your identity is based on your birth, not based on your behavior. And so sometimes we just need to remind ourselves of that, right? Pete, you said, like, hey, I made that mistake too. And I myself, more times than I'd care to confess to you, which is why you're getting this learn from me and be reminded about what is the main thing. What is your why, right? So the other side of this equation is to be sure that your ambition doesn't drive you off of a cliff. Be sure your ambition doesn't drive you out of your life, where you become indebted to your ambition or enslaved to your ambition, and you forget the main thing. You forget what's most important. You want to be clear about living a life that you've designed, right? Not being driven to live a certain life, because drivenness is not life in fullness, right? Or not distracted, or not drifting into, right? But designing. You have a free will. You've been given authority on earth to design your life as you live your life under the umbrella of surrender to your maker and your creator. So don't miss the main thing. Don't miss the point. And so, number one, you decide, what is it that you are looking to accomplish? What is the life that you want to live? What does that look like? Get a clear picture of that. Secondly, I want to say to you, trust your gut. Trust your gut. When wise people are asked to look back on their lives, and I've asked many a wise man and woman down through the years, what is one thing that they wished they had done more of? It is this. It is trusting their gut more. So many of them say. For example, there was a man, pretty high-paying job. He, for all intents and purposes, other people would have been somewhat envious of the life and the profile that he had. He lived in New York, worked for a big Wall Street firm, was on top of the world. And he got struck with an idea to do something different than what he was doing, right? Which was working grand. But this new venture would be risky, and he'd have to leave his high-profile career and very comfortable, even glamorous lifestyle. And so he's telling his boss that this is what he was thinking of doing. And his boss probably, I think, afraid that he was going to lose this high performer, high achiever, like superstar kind of employee and teammate, says, take a walk with me, will you? Let's take a walk through Central Park. And they walk through Central Park for 2 hours with the boss trying to talk this dude out of taking this jump, this leap, this risk. He said, look, if you leave, you won't get your big annual bonus. You'll forfeit it. If you leave, you'll put your reputation at risk. If you leave, you're going to put your wealth at risk. And the last thing he said, trying to convince him not to kind of pursue this, he said, look, you're just going to be like an online bookstore. Is that really a better setup and situation than what you're doing right now? And the setup and the situation that you've got yourself in right now? I mean, maybe that'd be something great for somebody who doesn't already have a great job. He said, will you just think about it for just 48 hours? Just have a think. And so the chap said, I thought about it. And he said, I thought about it this way. He said, when I look back on my life, I thought, will I regret trying this new idea? And he said, and if I didn't, he said, I would regret it. I would regret not trying it. Would I regret it? Trying it if it failed? He said, you know what? I don't think I'd regret that either. He said, the one thing that would haunt me every day of my life was that the fact that I didn't try. And so he said, when I made a decision from that framework, from that filter, decision was easy, he said. So he left his high profile Wall Street job and he started a little online bookstore. And now, today, we know that little online bookstore as Amazon. Now, what if Jeff Bezos didn't trust his gut? What if he didn't pursue that risky endeavor, leaving the comfort of his previous life? The rest of the world would not be as it is today. I want to ask you, what if you don't transition, let's just say, or consider venturing, continuing in the direction that you felt stirred as you jumped into this learning program? What if you don't or aren't willing to leave your comfortable lifestyle and take that risky pursuit of what you know is the possibility that you have inside of you? How will the world not be what it could be if you say no to what's been stirring in you, for some of you, for a long time? So I want to ask you, number 2, to trust your gut and just take a step, whatever that step is supposed to be for you, what that next step is supposed to be for you. I'm not asking you to throw caution to the wind, but I am asking you to trust your gut and step forward and let the world benefit from what you have to offer it. One of my roles here on our team of about 20 people, part of my role is to actually champion others on the team to stretch further, to reach for what they've maybe been afraid to reach for or thought they weren't good enough to attempt or whatever. All of us are in this boat. Thirdly, I want to challenge you to resolve, to keep your resolve. What are some of the common attributes of people who've, not just risked a new pursuit or a new endeavor, but who've maintained that pursuit? They've kept their resolve. So when this program is completed, life is going to be like maybe facing a mountain for you that you're going to climb. And when you leave the base camp, if you like, right, there are people who are going to try to talk you out of it. Oh, the weather's not good. This is not a good time. Do you not know we're in a pandemic, for goodness sake? What are you thinking? It's too rocky. Stay here a little longer, will you? And you, in keeping your resolve, will need to say something like this. See that mountain? I am going to get to the top of that mountain. And if I have to go alone, I'm going to get to the top of that mountain. And their warnings are not going to deter you. Now, I am all for listening to wise counselors and seeking godly counsel. But sometimes even the closest in your life won't quite get it. And you're going to need to ask them to trust you as you maintain your resolve. There will be treacherous terrain, and you're going to even question yourself, your own decision, your own resolve. Which is why I want to say to you, never doubt in the darkness what your God has made clear in the light. And even your own decision and the voices in your own mind are going to say to you, you know what, you really might not be cut out for this. Probably should turn back. It is kind of frigid out here. And you're going to need to look at those voices and those faces, if you like, and say, once again, we're going to the top of that mountain. And you're either going to see me waiting for you at the top, or someone's going to have to carry me to the hospital because I'm not coming back. I'm not going to settle for the mediocre. And I mean no disrespect from that, right? This is your journey. I'm not talking about everybody else's journey. So many people will settle for mediocre. And they refuse to go through the mundane. They want to go from mediocre to miraculous. You don't go for mediocre without going through the mundane. Same day in and day out. The routines and the rituals that you are going to need to ultimately usher you in to the miraculous. And when you have this kind of resolve, nothing, no one, no naysayer is going to stop you. And I want to encourage you, like what we talked about at the very beginning of our time here. Remember why now is the time for you to step forward and be who you've been called to be. When you forget your why, it's so much easier for you to lose your way. 95% of the journey is more mundane than it is miraculous. But my goodness, gang, let me tell you that 5% is worth all 95 individual percentiles. It's not about money. It's not about power. It's not about accumulation of prestige or fame. None of that is worth it. I still remember, gang, listen to me. I still remember putting gas or petrol, depending on where in the world you are, in my car, worried about how much money it was going to cost me. I don't have that worry anymore. And I want to say to you, you can do this too. You can do this too. And so let me give you 10 quick things. That was my introduction, 20 minutes in, okay? By your notes, I'm seeing some of that landed right where you are. Some of you are on the ledge, waiting for the jump. Some of you are saying, I'm so glad this is being recorded. It's got my name written all over it. We're singing from the same hymnal, bro. Some of you are saying, you're singing my song. You leprechaun, you. That's why we're here. That's why we're in this together. So, out of those 3 or 4 intro thoughts, let me usher you into a few more, all right? You know, I've gone to many a conference. I've gone through many a course, and some of them have ended up being shelf help. You with me? They've just kind of sat in a beautiful binder, and I've put them on a shelf, and they've just gathered dust after a while. Occasionally, I might go back and flick through and find something I'm looking for. I remember. How do we make sure that this program you're in doesn't become shelf help instead of an ongoing resource and reference and a place to which you return, and you can search for one word in every video, in every PDF, part of your training manual. And our search tool will take you right there to the specific place in the video, not just to the whole thing, but to the specific place. I'm so geeked out over that. So number one, I want you to go through all of your notes and I want you to list all the key ideas. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Just go through them and list them. Don't worry about how many there are. Don't worry about how long the list might be. As you do that, you are building them deeper into your long-term memory. But that's not where we're going to end, okay? No matter how many there are, get them out of the manual. Put them onto a sheet of paper or put them into a Word document on your computer. Just get them out of the book. Number two, pick the top 20. Write them down on a 3x5 card, actually. So you can just separate each idea. Top 20. Put the idea title on one side and a little bit of an explanation on the back. Yeah, we're going old school for this, right? My kids have a program that they use for school. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's basically like flashcards digitally. Don't do that. I want to keep these in front of your mug. Do whatever works for you, but that's my encouragement, okay? Lay them all out in front of you on your desk or on the floor, even on your bed. Then don't go for a nap, okay? Take a good, long, hard look at all those brainstorming, like nuggets, biggest nugget ideas. Top 20 now. And then you're going to prioritize them as best as you know how for where you are, what your priority top 20 are. And you can kind of guess what's coming next. Minimize them to your top 10, or just take your top 10 from that priority order of 20. I had to get you there. Don't worry about overanalyzing, or you're not going to mess this up. This is like a filtering system. Mark your top 10, and then from your top 10, take your top 3 that you're going to take immediate action on. All your ideas listed, top 20 as best as you can for where you are in your journey. Minimize them to top 10, and then from the top 10, take immediate action on your top 3. If you, it doesn't have to be earth-shattering, right? Just something simple like making a phone call, setting up a meeting, putting a social media ad. I'm coaching now and I have 3 slots available. If interested, DM me and let's chat. See if I'm a good fit. Dude, I thought you said baby step. Well, for you, that might be a baby step. If it's a giant step, find another baby step. Next step. So step number 1 was go through them all, get a list. Step number 2, whittle them down to top 20. Step number 3, from those top 20, take your top 10 and take immediate action on the top 3 of those top 10. Number 4, figure out how to get key people in your life to support you, maybe to come on this ride with you. I've just finished reading a book called Your Who, Not Your How by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Ben. I like this dude, but I can't remember his last name. Dan Sullivan, though, will get you, or even just the Your Who, Not Your How. Because a lot of you will be thinking you have to learn it all. You don't have to learn it all. You want to try to stay focused on what nobody else can do but you. And ask people to come along and be a support to you on the journey. Number 5, rinse and repeat. What is good once becomes better and better over time. So if this process works for you, and what we're doing is we're taking all of this data, all of this knowledge, and we're just saying, look, what are some action steps, okay? And don't sweat it, right? Because again, like on step number 5, we're rinsing and repeating. We're kind of scanning back through, maybe not through the whole thing, but through the longer list or the list of 20, and we're swapping out those 10 when we've got those done, and we are, right? But before we've got the 10 done, we've got 3 done, and then we're going to go to the next 3, and the next 3, and the next 3, and that's now wrecked my math. But we're going to go on to the top 20, right? And so on. Number 5, rinse and repeat. What's good once can become better and better over time. Number 6, make sure you complete this exercise. Number 7, stay connected. I'm going to encourage you, if we're not friends on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter, and you're on any of those platforms, make sure that we're friends or connected on there. Because you're going to get 4 motivational thoughts, at least 4 a day. And you're going to catch me on lives there, just trying to be an encouragement and sow some seeds and do exactly what I've encouraged you to do. So let's stay connected. Number 8 is develop your growth plan from here. What do you need next? What do you need to add into it? I was going to save this until next week, but I'm going to invite you for free to have access to this program. You'll have access to this program for lifetime, but actually have access to the lives for a whole nother 3 months. A whole nother. Do you like that? That's from my Granny Eggy from Michigan, who's actually my granny in-law. How are you going to continue to grow? Sometimes it's about reminding yourself of what you've already come through. But we want to be intentional about continuing our growth plan. And so I want to encourage you to receive that gift and enjoy it where you're able to. All right? So it'll be a brand new set of lives, conversations, Q&As, right? And you've gotten in this training, you've gotten, because you are our second cohort coming through this program, you've gotten these lives and you've gotten the 12 from the first, which is why when you see past live sessions, you've got double set, right? Because you got the first set and you got this set, and you will get access to the next set of lives. Only 5% of people ever seek out and invest in materials to grow themselves personally, who even read a book from cover to cover or finish a program. 5%. That is where you are right now, in the top 5% on the planet, gang. You're a rare breed. And if you want to outperform your contemporaries and step it up a notch, you can become the rarest breed of all by actually applying what you've learned. And then do that over the long haul and over enough period of time to realize transformation and change. You see, pedigree does not determine your success. Persistence does. If what you've learned here is valuable, and man, I hope it is, more valuable even than your investment, it becomes exponentially more valuable the more times you listen and you learn going through it again. But that's not the goal. The goal is to take action. The goal from the very beginning is to take massive, imperfect action. Not the MIA, missing in action, but the massive, imperfect action. And then finally, number 10, I want to ask you to help me help more entrepreneurs and leaders around the world by, you'll receive a link after you have your graduation questionnaire. You'll receive a link and it will ask you to share just a short video testimony of your experience in the program so that someone else on the fence might have some clarity to maybe jump in. And I would ask you to help me help others by having them borrow your trust. And so that reminds me of a story. Anytime I have tried anything of significance, it reminds me of a story of this man walking along a seashore. And he noticed during the night that many of the seashells and the starfish had been washed up on the beach. And he was just enjoying the morning sun and the cool sea air. And as he walked along the seashore, he noticed this small figure kind of dancing in the distance. And he kind of chuckled to himself that he wasn't the only one celebrating life in such an uninhibited way. As he drew closer, it became clear that this little figure wasn't dancing. Instead, she seemed to be repeatedly doing the same sort of ritual. And as he got closer still, he noticed that this small figure was a child that was methodically picking up one starfish at a time and throwing it back into the ocean. And he paused for a second, just puzzled, and he asked, he's like, "What? Why are you throwing the starfish back in?" And she said, "Well, it's high tide. If I leave them on the beach, the sun will soon dry them up and they'll die. So I'm throwing them back into the ocean so that they can live." And the man, like, he was impressed by the child's thoughtfulness, but he kind of motioned, up and down the miles of beach, and he said, like, there must be thousands of starfish, like, all along here. He said, like, you can't possibly make a difference. And the little girl stopped him, and she said, "You're probably right," as she bent down and picked up another starfish and threw it back into the ocean. And she said, "But I made a difference for that one. And for every one you recommend to take this journey that you've taken, or to take it again with you, you will make a difference for that one." It has been a wonderful privilege to share with you this Live, Love, Lead coach journey. And I want to say to you, you are only getting started. And I do not mean that in a discouraging way. I mean that in a beautiful, enriching, full way of the adventure that continues out in front of you, that will continue to ask you to stretch yourself, because it's only when you and I are willing to get outside of our comfort zone that life in all of its fullness is deeply and richly and fully experienced. Sometimes when we finish programs like this, especially, some can be overwhelmed, and emotionally, intellectually, even spiritually, that it can become perplexing internally. And you might be thinking, like, now that we're coming to the end of this, we've got one more week left, I'm not really sure what to do now. The hardest thing to do on a 1,000-mile journey, gang, is to take the first step without giving it too much thought, because your next foot will be right up next to it, ready to take the second one. And even if you at least try to move forward, you did the hardest part of a 1,000-mile journey. You started. Newton's law of inertia says a body at rest tends to stay at rest unless acted upon by an external force. So I want to encourage you, be your own mental shove, if you like. Or let me be. That forces your body forward. And I promise your feet will catch on. Because Newton's second law says that a body in motion tends to stay in motion. And you have done what 90% of people fail to do, and that is just even get started. Napoleon Hill once was asked by an audience, what's the average number of times that a person tries to achieve a new goal before they give up? And after several guesses from the audience, he answered, less than one. Most people give up before they've even begun, even though they could increase their impact and their influence and their income. Take one step today, my friend, so that the law of diminishing intent will not make you a statistic. And the law of diminishing intent means from the moment you feel like something needs to happen, I need to make a move, I need to take a step. From that very moment, the further away you get from that, this is called the law of diminishing intent, the lower your percentages go as to your, not ability, but your willingness to actually have, to actually take that step. So the closer you can take that step from the moment you know I need to take that step, the higher your percentages are, and they just drop the further and further and further away you get from it. There are opportunities, there are dreams, there are aspirations that you know are waiting for you to take action. But you might be afraid. You might be hearing the voice. You don't know what to do or how to do it or if it'll work out. Nothing that is ever accomplished is done without taking the first step. So I'm just going to say, don't worry about your plan right now. Just be hungry and maybe even be willing to be a bit foolish. Because can I just say to you, different stands out. So being a little foolish actually will stand out if you're willing to be. The key is just to get started. You don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. Just take the first step. And then when you do take another one and another one and another one, and before you know it, you'll have risen to the top where you will be so good they won't be able to ignore you anymore. And I would be honored to be a champion of you on that journey. Next week, I have a gift for you that is pretty significant. So I can't wait to share that with you. Let me pause right there. And I'm just making a note of the time. And let me ask you if you have any questions about anything I said from today, or in addition to that, if you have any questions about any part of your training so far. And while it takes a couple of minutes to go in, you will continue to receive daily updates. We are in momentum right now. And so I've got some really good goodies for you that is going to address, how do people pay you? What can that look like? And it can look anything like you want it to look like, honestly. But there's a software program that I want to recommend to you. Currently, the one that I'm recommending is called Samcart. And I have tried so many, and it is really easy to... what did you mean by your next set of lives? Great question. What I meant by my next set of lives is that this is a live session in part of this 3-month training certification program, right? Live Love Lead Coach certification training. The next 3 months, just because you have been willing to hang in there and if you've gotten this far, I am going to gift you with another set of 12 lives with the next group that will start in January. And so January through March, you will have access to another whole set of 12 lives with me because of your investment and your commitment to seeing yourself take the next step and the next step and the next step. And I want to continue to support you in that. I will encourage you to jump into another training program next week for the primary purpose of me supporting you and helping you be successful, right? That's what I want for you. I want you to get all that you've jumped into this to be able to get. And to the degree that I'm able to make that happen, I'm in. On my training, it says I've completed 40%. However, I have done all my homework. Apart from today's, don't worry about that percentage. Clearly, that's a glitch. And we have everything that you've submitted. And so you won't have any worries when it comes to certification time. So you will receive a graduation survey. And that will be the last thing after your this week's submissions. You'll receive a graduation survey and an assessment. Do not sweat the assessment, okay? I will just give you a clue. It's a little similar to the assessment that you took at the beginning, right? So we were measuring where are you now versus where were you then. And you are so welcome. You are so welcome. We want to over deliver and we want to bless you and we want you to be successful. So we're trusting that will be one way that we can do that significantly. So very good, gang. I've answered all the other questions that have come in via email. So if you have anything that surfaces this week, Kevin@livelovelead.info, you can take advantage of this next week where you have access to me in that format. Otherwise, moving forward, you'll have access to me in the lives through the next 3 months. So really, you've invested for 3 and you've gotten 6 for live access to me. So I will look forward to seeing you next week where we have a celebration session, and I look forward to being a support to you throughout this week. So take care. God bless you, and keep taking those steps, baby. And we'll be up that mountain and that staircase before you know it. God bless you. Talk to you soon. Bye.